So I've just come back from South Korea and Japan, and there's one country I most definitely will be going back to. So you might want to stay to the very end of the video to find out my answer. I'm going to be saying the pros and cons for both countries that I visited to help you guys to save time, money and disappointment. I'm going to be starting off the pro list with South Korea, and the first one's going to be how amazingly cheap everything is. So I was in South Korea for about 8 days in total, and I only realized how amazingly cheap literally everything was. For example, I'd walk into a cafe or restaurant and a coffee would be probably like £2, maybe £1.50. Obviously, if you go to a high-end cafe, it'll probably be around £4, and that's equivalent to maybe 3,001, 4,001, something like that, because I'm in the UK. And also how cheap the food was there in general. So for example, I would go into a restaurant and I would order, let's say, for like a katsu curry or maybe some ramen, and I'm not even joking, it would probably cost me around £5. And if you guys live in UK, you'll know exactly how much £5 is. In this economy, very cheap. And also in South Korea, when I went into like a 7-Eleven or like any convenience store, most of the stuff was extremely cheap. Like you could get like a little sandwich for about £1, £1.10, and that for me is absolutely fantastic. Even the transport was fairly cheap. Like I would go to certain places, like 2 subway rides, and it'll probably cost me like £1.50. Here in the UK, 2 subway rides will probably cost you £4. That's unbelievably expensive in this economy, 100%. Me spending £1, maybe £1.50 for 2 rides, I'll take that any day. Obviously, if you live in South Korea and you're an actual resident there, I'm assuming it's probably going to be the same price as me living in the UK, but I wouldn't really know that. For me, my experience, it was very cheap and very affordable. So the second pro I'm going to be listing in South Korea is how lively the nightlife is. The nightlife in South Korea was absolutely fantastic to experience, because I went out like 11 p.m, maybe 12 in the morning just to experience it, right? So I went to Hongdae, and as you guys know, Hongdae is one of the places in South Korea where it gets very active. Everybody is just high vibes. People were just being friendly. They were complimenting my outfit. It was just so good to be there. So if you're on Hongdae Street, or not even Hongdae, just in general, like if you're out on the night, you can actually make a friend there very easily. Yeah, so my personal experience is that I feel like I could have made a friend there if I wanted to. People there love to talk to you. Well, from my experience anyway, the people would just, would just try to talk to you, ask you where you're from, say where you're staying at. Yeah, just try connect with you. That's one of the pros that I did enjoy the most, how sociable people are there. Okay, so I'm going to be listing the third pro in South Korea, and the third pro is going to be transport. The transport system is absolutely amazing. It's very clean, it's very tidy in there, and it's very informative as well. As a foreigner myself, and if you are traveling to South Korea anytime soon, the train system there is very easy to navigate. So guys, if you're not aware of this, that Google Maps isn't as accurate as Naver Maps. Naver Maps is basically the Google Maps version, but in South Korea. So Naver Map actually saved me a lot of times, because when I was on Google Maps, I used it for a bit and it wasn't as accurate as when I was using Naver Maps. So when you do manage to visit South Korea, make sure you download the Naver app, not Google Maps, because Google Maps will tell you a rough estimate what the location is. However, Naver Maps is way more accurate. But other than that, the timings of the train was impeccable, always on time. Even when I did experience a delay, it was probably like 2 minutes. And like a delay in the UK was probably like 30 minutes minimum. So 2-minute delay, I would take that any day. So well done, South Korea, for your public transport and how everything was easy for me. So the next pro I'm going to be listing is how extremely safe I felt. South Korea is one of the countries that have low crime rate. And when I walked out at night, genuinely, I felt so safe. Like for example, I didn't feel any danger when I was walking in a certain type of street. I had my phone out on the street multiple times and I didn't feel like it was gonna get snatched. Like for example, I had my vlogging camera. I didn't feel like it was gonna get taken. I didn't feel like I was getting stabbed, shot. There were police majority of the streets that I did visit. So I was roughly around in the Mingyong area and it's quite heavily guarded. So I didn't feel like I was in danger. And of course, every country you visit, you need to be aware of everything. Obviously, not every country is perfect. Not every country is gonna be 100% crime free. You just need to be aware of your surroundings 24/7. But that being said, South Korea, generally for me, in my experience, was very safe. Okay, so let's move on to the cons list now for South Korea. So the first con I'm going to be listing is the language barrier. Now, when I say language barrier, I don't mean that I expect them to speak English for me. I just meant that, for example, let's say I was going into a restaurant, cafe, there's not much English signage. So for me, I had to use an app called Papago. It's basically a translation app where I had to take pictures and it will just translate Korean into English. And that kind of saved me. And also when I walked into a convenience store and I would ask for a certain item, they didn't really understand me. I had to say like keywords, which is understandable because I'm not expecting them to speak English for me. So when you do go to South Korea, make sure you're saying the basic. For example, like hello is 안녕하세요, thank you is 감사합니다. However though, I did go into some convenience stores or cafes, restaurants, whatever, and they knew some English, so you're not exactly doomed. Just make sure you're saying the keywords and then they would just probably understand you. Other than that, it was a great experience. I got by fairly smoothly. I didn't have any trouble speaking English with them. They kind of understood me in a way. So yeah, it was a good experience. So the second con I'm going to be adding to this is how they are not card friendly. I noticed this the hard way when I landed in Incheon airport and I didn't withdraw any cash from when I landed. And when I got to like Seoul, they didn't accept my Uber payments, car payments. They only accepted cash. So I was thinking, yeah, I'm actually stranded in the middle of Seoul. And I have a video on my stressful arrival. I'll link it down in the description down below. Make sure you check that out because it's a funny video. But yes, make sure you withdraw cash when you come out the airport because cash is pretty much king in South Korea. And also if you're going to like rural ends, restaurants barely take any card payments. So make sure you do have cash on you. Otherwise you can't pay for anything. But if you do go to like, for example, let's say Starbucks or McDonald's or Burger King, they even had a Popeyes there, I was surprised. But if you go to one of these chains, they most likely will take cards, so you shouldn't worry about that too much. So make sure you withdraw cash 100% because that is your safe haven. So another con that I'm going to be adding to the list is that how these cities can feel very similar to other cities. This one here is my personal experience, is that when I went to Myeongdong, I was going outside of further in Seoul, I went to Hongdae, I went to all these cities, right? It kind of felt similar to what I was experiencing when I was in Myeongdong and so forth, but it doesn't really necessarily mean it's the same. It's just for me personally, when I experienced, it was quite similar to me. However, I did want to go to Busan, which I didn't manage to go, which I regret. I know Busan from pictures and videos, I've seen it online. It looked absolutely stunning. So if you're going to compare Seoul to Busan, it's going to be completely different, of course. But if you're around the Seoul area, it's going to feel kind of similar. But I enjoyed myself. Everything there was amazing. Food, everything there, fantastic, 10 out of 10. But yeah, so if you are solo traveling or you're traveling with a group, most cities do kind of feel the same. So just don't expect to feel like kind of different. So let me know down in the comments where I should have went. And for future reference, if I were to go to South Korea again, let me know because I'll note that down. Okay, that is done for the South Korea pros and cons list. Now on to Japan. So I'm going to be starting off Japan's pro list, and the first pro I'm going to be listing is how safe it was. I just genuinely felt like if I were to walk on the road on some random Japanese street, I wouldn't get robbed, I wouldn't get attacked. I mean, I just felt so safe there. There was police everywhere where I was staying anyway. There was loads of police. The people there genuinely felt like they were doing their own business. They kept themselves to themselves. They didn't want to harm me. I think maybe one encounter that I was on the train, some really dodgy guy just jumped on the train, looked at me up and down. I was like, all right, I'm about to get into my first fight in Japan. But yeah, he just looked very dodgy. I think it was some sort of drugs. He was on something. It was definitely intoxicated. He looked at me up and down. I was thinking, yep, I'm gonna scrap in Japan. Genuinely, I'm about to have my first fight in a different country. And then he just walked off. He went to the other carriage, and I was just thinking to myself, well, that was a bit of a weird experience, but it is what it is. But generally, it is a safe country if you were to go to Japan. Don't worry about getting robbed, or obviously, like I said, always be aware of your surroundings because you never know when your time is coming. But yeah, in general, I do feel like Japan was safer than South Korea. So the second pro I'm going to be adding onto the Japan list is the world-class transport system. As you all know, Japan is known for their top-tier transport system. Every train arrives on time, everything arrives smoothly, everything's tidy, neat, even the subways are sparkly clean. What I really enjoyed the most when I was on the underground is that when a train did come, a melody would play and it would be like dun, 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 dun. I probably butchered it, but it's something similar to that. If you've been there, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. So when I landed in Japan, when I was navigating through the underground system, I do have a video on that, by the way, so I'm going to link it down in the description in below. It's the navigating in Japan video, which you checked out. Another interesting video. So yeah, when I did use the public transport, it was fairly easy to navigate after like 2-3 days. I got used to it. The most common line that I used that I remember was the Yamanote line. I think the Yamanote line is the very popular one where you can transfer to Shinjuku, Shibuya, and it's all the popular location where you need to go. So if you are in Japan, make sure you take the Yamanote line. The Yamanote line is very, very useful. And also, when you do arrive in Japan and you want to use public transport, or even if you want to buy stuff in the convenience stores, make sure you download a card called Suica card. If you're on Apple, you can download it straight into your wallet. I don't know about Android. I think you can do the same, like Apple or Android wallet. So make sure you download a card called Suica card because it's going to be your best friend. It's basically a travel card, which is similar to the T-Money card in South Korea. So make sure when you do arrive, download this Suica card onto your phone. So the minimum you can top up on the speaker card on your phone is about 1,000 yen, which is, for me, is about £4.50. So that will get you in and out of subways, buying in convenience stores. So I highly recommend you downloading that speaker card. But well done, Japan, for the transport system. It got me everywhere. Yeah, fantastic. 10 out of 10. You're doing a great job, Japan. So the third pro I'm going to be adding to the list in Japan is how amazing the food was. If you've already been to Japan, you really know what I'm talking about, because Japan has 10 out of 10 food, like the katsu curry, the ramen, the dumplings. Oh my god, everything about Japan's food was just sensational. Everything was cooked to order. I didn't experience any food poisoning or bad stomach. Everything was just fantastic. And also it's quite cheap there. For example, let's say you want to buy a chicken katsu curry, that's going to cost you what, £7, maybe £6. If you are in UK, that's going to cost you minimum £14. And if you are in the UK and you're watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, the food there was just incredibly fresh. The ingredients they used was so good. Yeah, I just kept eating the same thing over and over again. I did not get sick of it because how amazing it was. And also, some places, bearing in mind, do not take card once again, so make sure you have cash. I've noticed even in any country I go to, cash is pretty much king. Unless you're in America or UK or somewhere like that takes card more than cash, I've noticed you need to have cash. It's going to be very safe for you. Even the convenience stores, their food quality was fantastic. Like, you'd think you go into like a convenience store, you'll buy like a sandwich, or maybe you buy some sort of crisp chocolate. You think, yeah, whatever, it's just crisp chocolate sandwich. But the quality of the sandwich and the crisp and chocolate, just crazy good. I was so surprised. I did a video on eating only at 7-Eleven for 24 hours straight. Make sure you check that out in the link in the description down below. Once again, it's a very fantastic video, just watch it. But yeah, I just was so overwhelmed on how good everything was. The food quality, the service, oh, it was great. So Japan, you'll definitely see me again because I want to try your katsu curry. So the final thing I'm going to be listing in the Japan pro list is how good the customer service was. Even when I walked into a McDonald's, cafe, convenience store, their level of service was so 10 out of 10. I honestly thought like I was in a restaurant. Like, you can just tell they pride themselves in customer service. So I was in McDonald's, for example, and I ordered a shrimp burger, some fries and a drink, and I used the table service, and then they brought my food. They were like, here you go, hope you enjoy, da da da, and they started bowing. I'm like, bowing in McDonald's? I've never seen this before. And I was like, this is so good customer service, it blew me away. And you'd think when you're at McDonald's you get some average customer service, but no, Japan is literally top tier, elite level. So well done, Japan, on their customer service, doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. You genuinely made me feel like a valued person in your country. I was lost a couple of times in the underground and the staff there was so helpful. For example, the guy didn't even work for the underground, right? He worked at a completely different chain. And I asked him, do you know where this line is? And he's like, oh, I know where this line is, I'll take you. So he came out of his working hour, took time out of his day to take me to the line that I needed to get into. Do you know how thoughtful you need to be and how considerate you need to be as a person to be doing that for someone else? Okay, so now it's time for Japan's con list. So the first con I'm going to be adding to the Japan list is how isolated you can feel. So when I mean isolated, I don't mean they exclude you as a human being. It's just more that it's hard to connect with people there. So for example, let's say you wanted to make a friend or just have a little chat. For them, they like to keep themselves to themselves. They don't like to really go out their way to connect with you, which is perfectly fine anyway, because I'm a stranger and who wants to talk to some random person? Even if you're not in the mood, that's even worse. So I understand. So if you are trying to make like a group of friends or like try connect with someone, I did notice it was quite hard. Sometimes I did get some compliments or how my outfit was. So yeah, I don't have much to say on that specific con. It's kind of self-explanatory. But yeah, if you're trying to connect with people, it's going to be quite difficult in my experience anyway. It'd be quite hard to socially connect with people. But I'm sure if you're very charismatic and you have the personality, you can attract people from any other country and even Japan. So yeah, just that's all down to you and personal experience. The second con I'm going to be adding to the list on Japan is how less spontaneous everything feels. When I say less spontaneous, I mean, for example, let's say you go out at 12 in the morning, 1 in the morning, and you want to go to like a cafe or a restaurant. Compared to South Korea, they were open. So when I was in Japan, I did notice that none of them was open until like the next morning or the next afternoon. So you just can't go out expecting things to be open. Everything is structured and well organized there. But things like 7-Eleven and Family Mart and like Lawson, they're always open 24/7, so don't worry about that. But yeah, when you want to go to like a late night restaurant, even like a little bar, is all going to be closed until like, I don't know, afternoonish. However though, I didn't notice any nightlife there. Like, I didn't see any clubs or any areas where people were just like lining up for queues to get inside a certain bar or a club. Unless I missed it. I was in Shibuya most of the time, or like Shinjuku. but I didn't see anything there. Yeah, so other than that, it's not much to say on that topic once again. Yeah, it just feels less spontaneous. So if you want to go out at night, just be prepared that most stuff will be closed. Okay, so the third con I'm going to be adding to the list is that some places do not take tourists. And this one is the most important one you need to know when you're arriving in Japan. Let's say you want to go to a restaurant, cafe, or whatever you want to go to, there will be a sign outside their window saying no tourists. If you were to accidentally go into one, 9 times out of 10 they'll start being a bit rude. They'll say, oh, you got to leave, so just be prepared for that and just watch out. I don't know why it's a thing, maybe because in the past the tourists were being loud and being disrespectful, which I understand, because some people are like that and they're just rude and they don't respect the culture. However though, just be aware that some places do not take tourists. It could feel like you're being generalized. However, I do understand on their side, because they might have an experience where it was pretty bad. So I don't blame them, but at the same time, just be aware that they will have signage outside their window saying do not come in. However though, don't be scared, because most places they take tourism and they love tourists, so they will take your touristic money. Okay, so that concludes the pros and cons video for today. I hope you have enough information that I've given you and it saved you time, money and disappointment. But I'm going to give you my honest last conclusion of all this. So South Korea, my experience, you're gonna enjoy it. Fantastic, phenomenal country. Food was great. The people there were amazing, especially the nightlife. If you are a night person, you like to club and you like to go out with your friends, that is the place for you. If you want fast-paced late nights, street food and sociable people, South Korea is the place to go. It's exciting, affordable, and it never feels boring, but it can feel intense if you're a quiet person and if you're a solo traveler. Japan is all about structure, culture and peace of mind. It's ideal for solo travelers who value their safety, cleanliness and unforgettable experiences. It may feel quieter and expensive, but the quality and uniqueness makes it all worth it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of South Korea and Japan's pros and cons list. And if you are traveling to South Korea and Japan in the space of 2-3 weeks or in a month's time, hope you guys have a wonderful trip. Everything is going to be fantastic for you. And now it's time for the answer you've all been waiting for, that I said at the very start of the video, and the answer is Japan. Of course it's going to be Japan. It's just I wish I were to go back right now, because if I did, I'll be splashing even more. Just the vibes, the culture, the bright lights that hit in your face, the city vibes. It's just, I just need it again. And if you do go to Japan, I promise you, your pockets are not safe. I splashed more than £2,000 easily. That's minimum. It's probably more than that. Oh my god, my bank account is hurting so much right now, and this just reminded me of it. Oh my god, I don't care though, it was worth it. It was worth it. I'll do that 10 times again. Okay guys, thanks for watching this video. It's been an absolute pleasure. So make sure you subscribe, leave a like, comment down below where I need to go, have some recommendations for future purposes. Yeah, see you in the next one.